Well, just to illustrate, this is who is controlling the markets, and this is who you're trading against. Actually, anybody knows this. Any idiot knows this, actually, that most of the market is actually just computers trading with each other. They move the market one way or the other. They can only move it so far for so long. It's not going to stay that way forever. But we do know that ups and downs often occur due to computer algorithms. And we also know that Goldman Sachs went ballistic when somebody escaped one of their proprietary software programs, and it was revealed, I think it was back in, what was it, 2009 or something, that, the person that downloaded the program and took it with them, man, they got him on the plane, man. You know what I mean? They didn't even let this guy get away. That was back, I forgot the exact story on that. But, any idiot knows that, the markets, well, let me put it this way. Yeah, they're basically rigged, but they can rig them up, too. So, the thing is, what I've always been saying that is when they rig them up, you're going to be able to tell because, say your silver's really high, don't be afraid to take the cash and go buy yourself some stuff with it, whatever the hell you need, I mean, you don't want to part with all of it, but, maybe there's always a little hedge you want to keep, but, they'll be telling you the dollar's going to nothing, the dollar's never going to nothing, it's going to be, someday, maybe 100 years from now, but not in the recent many years future. It's going to be the currency of America for quite some time, even if it gets devalued a lot. So, but the markets are rigged, man. So I want to get on to something here, too, also about the rigging of markets. I'm also going to talk about, the copper prices are a big indication of what's going on today in the real economy, despite all their rosy predictions. And you see the Dow's going down today. Oil actually sprung back up. I was like, yeah, whatever. And not $10 or nothing. A pretty good percentage move considering where the hell it is. It went up $2 on over $2 and something on the WTI, which is actually from 46 to 48. $2 and something was almost a 5% move. That's pretty significant actually. But I know Goldman talked about it's going to be 39, and they made the markets move just by their stupid announcement. When Goldman opens their hall, it's like the world freaking listens, and it makes the markets go one way or the other, at least for a day, But I also want to talk about, a little bit about card playing. I don't know much about this. My uncle used to know it. Well, actually, you know what? He taught my cousin, and uncle was a CPA up in New York. He had his own firm in the Chrysler Building. He actually was listed as who's who in business. And, he's one of the top guys in his field. He actually knew this stuff, though. He used to play down at racetracks and all that. This is the Borgata Hotel in Atlantic City. Actually, he taught my cousin, a lot. What he knows, he's a professional gambler. He's a professional gambler in Borgata Hotel. Actually, if you look up back in 2007, nothing happened with him, but he got busted in the largest illegal gambling ring that ever freaking was found in the state of New Jersey. The guy that was running it was nicknamed Elvis because of all the Elvis stuff he used to like, And, what it means is gambling ring means this. The only thing that's illegal about it is that Uncle Sam doesn't get their cut. That's what it means. Otherwise, there's nothing illegal about it. It's like, the state don't get their money. Actually, to tell you the truth, with the gambling on the horses, you probably got a better chance of winning than you do the stupid lottery. But the lottery is like run by the state. So what can I tell you? So I can tell you a little bit about rigging and all this type of stuff. There is a lot of crazy shit that goes on. Now, actually, just as a side note, I know like the Revell is totally like, I think they got bought up by some developer. I don't know, billions of dollars. J.P. Morgan lost their ass on it. Shit, because there was a lot of competition from outside New Jersey, from New York, Pennsylvania, I think Rhode Island or whatever, because there's more gambling going on in other states. So it's killing New Jersey. Actually, the Borgata Hotel, the only place my cousin freaking still works at. He doesn't work there. He's a professional gambler, actually. That place is still making money. So, just figured I'd throw this in here because I don't dabble in this kind of crap. I don't know nothing about poker, but I do know that it's quite analogous to what goes on in the markets. the house usually wins. You know what I mean? If you look at the top, I gotta reiterate this, because why the hell are people actually getting physical silver coins? Because they don't want to play the game. I mean, you're playing a game in a way because you're betting that it's going to go up in U.S. greenback dollars, right? But the thing is, you're opting out of the banking system, the investment system, in a traditional way. That's why people are getting these little shiny silver coins in the first place. But they're all waiting for the time they could sell them and get, buy whatever they want. Built-in swimming pools, nice cars, houses, whatever the hell they want, But they all know that the reason they're opting out of the poker game, what's going on in the financial markets, I got to reiterate this because I know some people don't get it, man, is because it's rigged. And the other thing is, you can see why it's rigged. Just throw a common sense point out there. I'm going to tell you this too. My uncle was a CPA in New York. He talked very, very, very working class. He hated the way those professionals talk. I hate the way those professionals talk. I know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't like talking like them. Period. I'm just doing my own thing on here on YouTube. But just to give you an example, the top 1 basis point, the 1/100th of 1%, where are they mainly connected to? What industry? The banking and finance industry. So how the hell is it that they are the top 1% in the banking and finance industry? Are they that smart? Is somebody worth $15,000 an hour? No. You know what I mean? It's rigged, man. It's rigged. Well, I mean, maybe I'm preaching to the crowd, the choir here, but come on, some people still don't get it. But it's like when you throw the dice down. I got to tell you this: with the commodities, you got to have a lot of patience. Even I got double leverage oil that got killed, but I ain't selling it because what I know what's going to happen. I think I know what's going to happen. It's going to be things will go the other way. I know they're talking about some Saudi yo-yo over there. Talked about, oil's never going to go up over 100. Well, he could just be lying his ass off, or maybe he just doesn't know, because I think there's a lot of ways oil can be going over 100. But, silver's been the slayer, Silver's always been the slayer. And copper, the girl with the copper hair here, copper is actually been the main material that's always been mined with silver. But now you got to figure this. With the recent decline of copper prices down to a 6-year low, which means Dr. Copper is, they don't call it Dr. Copper for no reason. Dr. Copper means that it's an indication of the real underlying economy, because copper is used in infrastructure on electrical wires, it's used in construction, it's used in a lot of different industries and a lot of different materials. So it's so widely used that when the copper prices are going way down, it means there should be way less demand, right? Now, that's a good indication the economy really sucks, man. It's gotta, no matter what the hell they're telling you, Actually, it's when you're looking at the markets today, they're going down. That's finally. I think they're going to go down even more though when you really start seeing the financial reporting for the energy sector and the research and development on the energy sector really start coming in January. Oh, that's going to affect the S&P left and right. But you have to remember this. Most mines, silver mines, when we're talking about the silver slayer, I'm not going to dramatize this stuff about the silver slayer, but I'm just, throwing this in here it's like silver is not, most mines are not just purely silver mines. There's a few, but not most of them are. Most of the time, it's mainly copper that's being mined, and silver's a byproduct of copper. So, the big excuse or the rationale, whatever it was that silver, since it's a byproduct of copper, they're going to mine the other material anyway, right? Well, the copper prices are at a 6-year low. So even though energy production, actually is, mining is a very energy intensive business. For operating costs, if you want to call it cash operating costs, accountants call it operating costs. They don't really call anything cash costs. I don't know if that's a layman's term or what, but people don't use that in accounting. But the thing is, it's also telling you, since the copper prices are really low, it's making the mines much less profitable. Even though the almost 50% of the operating cost is energy, the other 50% of the operating cost is not energy. So say, for instance, energy goes down 50% or more, but you got to remember, the actual retail price of gasoline and diesel fuel, actually diesel fuel, did not go down 50%. So when crude oil went down over 50%, did the price, the diesel fuel at the pump go down 50%? No, because there's other things involved besides crude oil. So when you're talking about almost half the operating cost is down, almost 50% for mining, well, you still got a little more than half the operating costs that are not energy, and then on top of that, the actual the operating costs that are energy did not go down by 50% because the crude oil prices went down 50%, because the retail price of diesel, like gasoline, they use diesel, did not go down by that much. Didn't go down by half. Only crude oil did. So keep that in mind when you're talking about, what you're actually, I don't know every detail of what goes on in every mine. I actually seen a lot of extremely detailed spreadsheets that nobody sees in the public on mining operations. And, when you're talking operating costs, you can't be doing this crap forever, man. Especially if, your loans are going to have to be renewed. If they got, say for instance now after 3 years of freaking being in a really bear market on the commodities and in the what do you call it, in the metals, a lot of these loans have to be renewed. Actually, how a lot of these mining companies are surviving is they're doing mass write-offs on abandoned projects. When you abandon a project, you might have, if the project's been abandoned for more than 6 months, you can write off all your capital expenditures. Normally those capital expenditures, they sit as assets on the books until such time as you can start expensing them as part of the cost of goods sold. And, when the operation is actually going into full tilt. Well, when they did all the, EPA studies, the impact studies, built the roads and whatever, and invested in capital in the land and replanting vegetation or something for with the mining damage they did or whatever. There's all kinds of crazy crap they have to do with the environment too. It's like all that cost that was capitalized, they can expense, and they could possibly have a net operating, they call it NOL, and net operating loss carry forward for many years, which could alleviate their tax burden and help them with their cash flow. Not their cash costs, but their cash flow. And, they would just be running on bare bones operating expense, operating costs. But that doesn't help with, new investment. Now, the only guy I'm showing here, the $20 bill, the only guy that was really showed that fought against the old rigged system was Andrew Jackson. He went against Biddle, right? The United States, what the hell was that called again? The Bank of the United States or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact name again, but I know he was fighting against the central bank. And nobody in the public, or pretty much everybody in the public, did not support a central bank for many decades thereafter until it was pushed through in Christmas Eve on 1913, I guess it was, when most of the Congress was in recess. And, part of that was, they had to get rid of Taft as president. They had, Wilson and stuff. He signed it into law because Taft would have never signed it into law. I think they had the Panic of 1907 before that, which set the stage to have the Federal Reserve later, some years later on. But Andrew Jackson, he knew that the system was rigged with a central bank. So, preaching to, I don't know why some people still, I don't know why the hell even looking at a silver channel if they don't realize the system's rigged. Yeah, there's markets that go, I know the theory is the free market goes up and down. We don't have a free market. I'm telling you right now, man. The problem is they got monopolistic capitalists. They're just as bad as freaking communists. They like it rigged in their favor. Competition's a sin. That was a John D. Rockefeller saying. It's a piece of shit, okay? He's the guy that freaking knocked out the hemp for, he's the guy that passed the, pushed, what the hell was it? Pushed for the, outlawing the manufacture of alcohol because John D. Rockefeller didn't like the competition coming from the farmers for his crude oil gasoline product that was being sold in the city. So he pushed $4 million onto the women's on the abolitionist movement with the women to make the sale of alcohol illegal and make it pass it as a constitutional amendment. And prohibition started a lot because of John D. Rockefeller, because he didn't like the damn competition coming from alcohol sales from the farmers for his product, which is gasoline, which came from crude oil. Back then, you talk about there's nothing rigged, there's no games going on. Come on. Anyway, I'm going to tell you this, though. This is the future of Saudi right here. This is the camel. I'm going to tell you, those guys are all sitting high on a hog. I can tell you one way they could have the rug pulled out from in 2 seconds flat. This is where it gets me, because I wish this Vladimir Putin would quit freaking worrying about the stupid Ukraine and the Crimea, because man, that cost him way more money than it was worth. Just common sense. I don't know why he did that. I really don't know it. I don't get it. I think he's got too much Russian ego in his head. I mean, it's good having a lot of Russian pride, but nation in your nation. But please be smart, buddy. Because you know what? If Russia and the U.S. got together, they run it. They run everything. And maybe the game is maybe there's a game to start World War III. I don't really know what the hell's going on. They got, every time something happens in a major global event, there's always something behind it. But, if there was a conflict between Iran and Saudi, you know how much oil would be taken off the market? A large percentage. You know how much oil would go up? You know how much would the financial benefits would be for Vladimir Putin, specifically Russia, and the U.S. fracking industry? A hell of a lot. I'm surprised this didn't happen. I don't get it, man. I'm not running this show. There had already been sparks going between, and I'm thinking, after they freaking did the attack on Paris, and the Jews are running. Actually, I side with the Jews, man. People get mad at me for that. But I'm not Jewish or nothing, but I generally, people get pissed off at me about that deal. But I kind of like the Jews anyway. So, but the thing is, what the hell? I already kind of figured out the deal with why nothing happened with Iran, because Valerie Girat's parents lived there. She was born and raised there, and Obama's a Muslim. So here's part of the reason, man. But, actually it can come about by, it could be a while yet, but, Obama's going to be out of office eventually. And I think the policy in the Middle East is going to change. And, it's not going to take nothing to topple Saudi. The guy that's the king of Saudi, he's almost dead as it is. He's 90, he's got pneumonia. But, the thing is, if any kind of conflict happens between Iran and Saudi, oil's going right through the freaking roof, man. It's going to hit the freaking prices here. And, that's going to be the end of oil, though, because it'll price itself right out of the freaking market. Everybody's going to go into alternative electric energy or something, because it'll price itself right out of the freaking market. But, there's one more super spike left. But I think the rug's going to be pulled out from under Saudi big time. I think so. And, I could tell you a lot of stuff that went on with Russia, too. I knew about a lot of deals that went on with isotopes, uranium, caesium isotopes for atomic triggers on private platform PPPs, private placement platforms that aren't available to the public. I don't like getting involved in that because those people scare me. But, there's a lot of crazy shit that goes on in the world. And, I knew, I don't want to say too much, but, there was like a professor in the U.S. He was a PhD college guy, kind of like, you wouldn't think he was involved in a lot of shit. And he said he could move the electronic markets up, triple or double or more inside of hours. He said they can do that on certain commodities. They don't trade caesium isotopes and things like that on the open market. There's no spot market, but they can play games, man. There's a lot of investment vehicles out there that are not on the that the public doesn't see. And I can tell you this: the Russians, the oligarchs, they're totally hooked in with the Western financial system to the max, and so does Vladimir Putin. And there's people you don't mess with. As a matter of fact, most of the wealth in Russia, where it's located, it's all located in Siberia, and what the hell is this part of Russia over here? This huge part that's got 3 time zones. They don't get the money. The oligarchs get the money. They don't get the money. So when there's a lot of stuff out there that goes on that you wouldn't believe. I actually put a little bit about it, but I ain't gonna talk about this shit too much, man, because it's like, first off, it goes right over people's heads before they think I'm full of it or whatever. I know a little bit about it, but I know a little more about it than just reading about it. How's that? And but there's a lot of stuff that goes on that even if you want to talk about, I went over this on another video because, this copper thing is actually telling me the economy is shit, and it's also telling me that the mining is not profitable for the silver because most of the silver mines are copper mines. It's a byproduct of copper mining, right? Right? Is that telling me the price is too damn low? I mean, it's almost like with this deal with capital expenditures. It's almost like you're running a car. You can say, yeah, I'm just going to add oil and I'm going to put gas in it. But there's a time when you got to fix something, some equipment breaks down, or you're just something's got to be replaced or something. That's exactly how it works with anything. Capital expenditures are part of business. They're part of business. You can stop all capital expenditures for a while, but there's a limit to how long that while is going to be. So, pretty much everybody in the mining industry right now, they're probably hurting, but they're not losing. They don't have negative cash flow. Because if they had negative cash flow, let's put it that way, not this cash cost garbage, but negative cash flow, they wouldn't be selling the stuff, period. That's the same with the oil industry. But some in the oil industry already got hurt. Actually, when you're looking at the oil industry, if you look at what Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan says, the average for the U.S. oil industry was between 75 and 77. One called it 75, one said 76 to 77. But there's some areas of the U.S. Shale and fracking industry that are below 50. They could still make money. And you got to remember the way they say can make money because, when you're talking about bare bones operating expense, you can go like that for maybe 6 months or maybe a year. But I don't think the price of oil is going to stay down that long. Saudi's full of it. Actually, I think the rug's going to be pulled out from under Saudi big time. I think they're going back to the Stone Age. I think so. I really don't like saying this on here because it's risky for me to say so, but I think they're going back to the Stone Age. If I was the guys, I realize what's going on. I can read what the hell. You say I don't read it, but I can read what the hell, basically how these yo-yos think. If I was one of the big guys, the oil industry is the most powerful industry on this earth. The only reason the Saudis are being allowed to do this crap right now is to twist Russia's arm because they don't like what Russia's doing, Putin's doing. I wish Putin would freaking just lighten up with this bullshit. I don't know what's with that guy, man. I don't know. I wish he would lighten up with this shit because, between Russia and the U.S., we'd be calling all the shots. So that might not be a popular thing to say on YouTube, but that's the reality of it. There ought to be a lot of cooperation between Russia and the United States. But then, if there's not cooperation between Russia and the United States, I almost tend to think it's deliberate. There's something else that's always been bugging me, too, about some of the stuff going on. And, we could be leading up to World War III. Now, I'm going to tell you something. When, this is according to Major Anatoly Golitsyn, former KGB major from decades ago. He said that, and it's it's kind of like this the way I figure it too. The Russia's actually playing possum right now with a long-range strategy. Communism never really fell. It was more like a strategic cooperation with the West to get technology, and they're waiting for the West to be vulnerable. What they're counting on, and actually you could see this from all their stupid Russian writings about, the United States breaking up and all this kind of crap, Igor Panarin and all these Russian bloggers talking about the U.S. breaking up and falling apart. But what they're counting on is total financial collapse in the West. Now, I mean, it probably doesn't take any brains to even figure if there ever is total financial collapse in the West. Not what the alternative media calls total financial collapse in the West. But if there's really total financial collapse in the West, yeah, I think that is a total heads up for World War III. All right? But until such time, I don't think nothing like that's going to happen. Just having a little downturn in the markets and the dollar dropping maybe later on, it's not going to be total financial collapse. But if there is, be prepared. Be prepared for the worst. So I'll put that out for you too. That's another thing. It's like, people saying, be prepared, click my PayPal button. I'm not telling you that, man, because I realize stupid money ain't going to do me any good anyway, man. Gas masks, guns, and food and fuel and firepower, But, let me just put it this way. That's a possibility. Things change. Look at what happened with Atlantic City. I think the only place that's profitable still is the Borgata Hotel. They're still doing good. I think they're the oldest one or one of the oldest ones. But, look what happened to Revell. I don't know how much that stupid thing cost, like billions or something, or a couple $1 billion. I don't know, some developer just bought it recently. But look what happened with it, The best plans, I think it was J.P. Morgan was behind it, or whatever the hell it was. They lost their ass on that shit. So, I mean, the best of the best do screw up. They do screw up. That's why things happen. Even at one point in time, John D. Rockefeller was a nothing. You remember that, right? Carnegie almost lost his ass too. Carnegie, man, he was almost a broke fucker too, man. At one point in time, he made his money off the steel industry. He wound up, figuring he had something. I forgot what the hell it was exactly. But he did something with the steel industry, and had a lot of time. He found a better way to make steel a lot stronger and a lot cheaper. And that made him a lot more money, so they could make high-rise buildings and stuff. But a lot of these people, actually, they're super wealthy. They weren't wealthy their whole life. And, Jimmy Rogers is telling you right now, it's almost like, he thinks China's going to be the rising star. That may be. I don't know. That could be. Actually, the U.S. would be the rising star again if we deregulate all this crap that they got over here that destroys businesses. But, it's hard to say. But, I think China's got a lot of problem with a lot of regulation too. So Jimmy Rogers might not be totally correct about that. But one area I think he's going to be right about is farming. And, nobody wants to be a farmer. Everybody wants to be a hot shot. Freaking, I'm playing 5 aces and I'm going to make a lot of money doing nothing. He's probably right about that. He's probably right about that all the way. There's going to be when silver goes up, energy's going to go up, food's going to go up, the whole 9 yards. But just remember, that the fact that copper has been getting destroyed lately, that's not a conspiracy. They don't call it Dr. Copper for no reason. It's telling you blatantly that the economy sucks, and it's also telling you that the silver mines aren't making as much money, despite the energy costs going down. The energy cost of diesel fuel did not drop 50%, and you got to remember, even diesel fuel is only 50% of the bare bones operating expense. The other 50% is stuff like payroll and other things that are needed. Well, I don't know what the hell they are because I'd have to look at those spreadsheets again. But there's a lot of other stuff that's involved, And even you have to, there's still a lot of maintenance on equipment too. Maybe not big capital expenditures, but stuff wears out. drill bits, explosives, I don't know, whatever the hell they're doing. So it's the copper price is another indication that the mines are less profitable. So people probably realize this. Now, also I want to mention today that Palladium went down a lot too, because that's one of my things I like. Well, I think it's going to do very good because of Russian tensions. But Palladium went down a lot because of the outlook for the general economy has been, according to World Bank or whatever the hell it was, the IMF, I think it was the IMF, said the outlook for the economy, general world economy looks dismal. So Palladium is like 90% industrial. So whenever the outlook of the general economy looks bad, Palladium takes a hit. But I think Palladium's going to do very good because we have loads of Russian tensions and they got most of the supply. But then again, look at oil. Went up $2.60. That's over a 5% move in a day. When 2 days after Goldman talked about $39. When they talk about $39, it drops, and then a day or two later, the market takes over and does its own thing. So, Anyway, that's all I got to say about this. Probably went too long. I usually go too long, but I like to cover a lot of different things on one video. I mean, I could put out 10 videos with a little freaking soundbite with, the sky is falling. But, I'm telling you, anybody that don't think there isn't a lot of market rigging going, but they rig it up. They're going to rig it up. Eventually, they're going to rig it up. I don't know how high, but it's going to be high enough that everybody's going to make money on silver. It's going to hit a new height sometime. And it's not going to be 20 years from now. When it goes up fast. And everybody's going to be scared to sell. I'm not. I'll probably keep some aces on hand just in case. But anyway, that's all I got to say.